Welcome, my dear friends, to Clobby'S Comics Corner. Spinnerack Time Machine, October 1971, week 4. It's a weird month because of the way things shake out. There's a week 5, but this will handle all the titles. So I'll do this, and I'll do a quick bits tomorrow. Excuse me. And I think since there is anonymously there's a week 5. So maybe next week, instead of doing, the regular issues, maybe I'll do a Halloween special, a Clobby'S Comics Corner, Spinnerack Time Machine Halloween special. But that is neither here nor there for this week, folks. Let us do what we always do. And if you are new to these videos, basically, Clobby'S Comics Corner, Spinnerack Time Machine is basically my TARDIS that has, of course, chameleon circuit set in the form of early 70s. Hey, kids, it's comics Spinnerack, because we take a little bitty trip, a stroll back through time. 50 years, nice round number, to 1971. And we do that so that we may take a little bit of look at what's out there. I've taken my comic shop back in time, and we all go and pick up our new books, just as some of you may still do. I don't buy new comics anymore and haven't for a while, but if you have a folder or a pull list at your LCS, your local comic shop, then you know what I'm talking about. Well, in this case, it's it's October week 4 of 1971, and 50 years ago, and I have made my pull list. I usually go with anywhere from 9 to 10 titles each week, and I pull the ones and just give you a little brief look at the ones I would have chosen for my pull list as a then 7-year-old, but I'm combining that with my 2021 sensibilities as an old man, an old comic book fan, a Bronze Age baby. But there are tons and tons of other titles. Of course, that's what the follow-up show is for. So as you can see, as I always like to give a little example, there were one hell of a lot of comic books on the racks back then. Each week, of course, again, the distribution was very different from what they were in comic shops. So I'm kind of speculating a little bit. And we'll talk about some of the titles that did not make it in my 9 choices this week to finish up October 1971. We'll do that on tomorrow's Quick Bits video. That's what that is for. But today, we're going to talk about the ones that I did choose. And as you may have figured out by now, if you've watched any of my other Spinnerack Time Machine videos, you'll know that I'm kind of one of those fanboys that likes superheroes, sometimes a little bit other stuff too. But I kind of do stay a little within those certain, close to that framework, that genre. But there are a lot of other titles, and we'll talk about those tomorrow. But I'll start off with one that I should have done last week, but we'll give it a little special hail because I love the Fantastic Four. For those of you who do know me, you know that. This, of course, will be Fantastic Four number 118. 2 stories in there, and all done by the same creative team. The great Archie Goodwin, one of the great writers of his time, John Buscema and Jim Mooney on the interior art. Yeah, I love the John Buscema run on FF. An old timer Jim Mooney there doing the inks, and of course it's a John Buscema, John Romita, and I do mean senior cover. And again, if you ever get a chance to pick this one up, you gotta. They have a crazy, Archie Goodwin was an excellent writer. There really is a crazy 6-page backup story. So there are 2 stories in this one, even though it's formatted at the 20-cent format. I think it was originally supposed to be a 25, one of those bigger format thingies. But anyway, there's a pretty crazy story in there that you'll have to see to believe it. I mean, it's I think it has what do they call it? It was one of those alternate universe things where they have an alternate Reed Richards, what the 7-something other world. And they gave it another title that they used to do that with other Earths and stuff. Originally, it was just called Earth A because as alternate, but then the Marvel Handbook gave it some kind of funny title. But anyway, it's an interesting story. I'll let you check that one out if you are so inclined. And we're staying with the FF again, of course, Marvel's Greatest Comics, the reprint title. One of the first comics, first times I'm able to check out the classic stuff, as many of us who were a little bit too young to pick up the Silver Age, wonderful Kirby Lee run. This, of course, this title was a reprint of that. And in this case, a reprint of Fantastic Four 46 and 47. Inhumans, beginning of right around, that's the Inhuman saga. Folks, there's also a Strange Tales reprint in there. Again, of course, the main stuff, Kirby, great Kirby art, great Sinnott inking on him along with Stan Lee with the plots. And again, your backup story, Larry Ivy, Stan Lee, Bob Powell, Mickey DiMeo, again, in an older Strange Tales reprint. And interestingly enough, although that cover is sort of similar to the cover of 46 or 47? I can't remember now. But it is Gil Kane taking off on the Jack Kirby original cover on this Marvel's Greatest Comics number 34, as you can see, because it's a thicker issue. It's a 25 center when they were still mostly 20 cents at that point. Now the reprint, excuse me, a lot of these are reprint books. When you see these, this one, my research says it's not, and I'm pretty sure it isn't. Even though at this point, a lot of the Sergeant Fury title was actually, this is first. I think this is kind of like a revival of it. But Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos number 94, story Gary Friedrich. Friedrich. How did you say his name? Well, I can't really remember, to be honest. With art by Dick Ayers and Sid Shores. That's why it made me think this was a reprint, but my research shows it's not. It's don't know, because a lot of these were back then, but like a reprint of some older stuff, but not with Friedrich though, because he didn't write in the old days, so who knows what this was for sure. With Dick Ayers and Sid Shores, they were still around at the time. But anyway, with a nifty cover by Gil Kane, the great Gil Kane, and Frank Gil Shaw, whatever you say his name. Superman's I forgot to write Superman's girlfriend. Look at me. Well, I screwed up. Oh my god, it doesn't matter. You all know it's Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane. Yeah, it's funny how you had to put Supes on every cover of that, because let's just be honest, who was going to buy that title without Superman on every issue? So, I don't know. Number 117 story, and it was kind of Robert Kanigher of all people. Guy wrote a lot of Sergeant Rock, but he's writing the Lois Lane title. Werner Roth on the art, known for his Marvel stuff. Vinnie Coletta, known for inking and screwing up a lot of pencils out there the world over in the comics industry at the time. And you have some reprints from Sensation Comics and a bunch of reprints. Again, they were doing that a lot. Look at, and I've talked about this a lot, so you can see it's the 48 pages, the 25 center in the 20th era. They were loading these things up so they could, these reprints didn't cost them anything. So they would give you one new story and then a bunch of reprints. It allowed them to charge more for the comic. It didn't cost them very much at all to do the reprints. So a lot of reprint titles. And of course, I'm going to pick up Two Gun Kid. This is definitely a reprint. We're in the reprint era, folks. Well, as I said before, there were no trade paperbacks then. So what are you going to do? And of course, I just, I like me an old Marvel Western every now and then. Two Gun Kid, Chuck F. Miller, Bob Powell. And again, if not only you get a reprint, you get a really cool Gil Kane, John Severin cover. So, you cannot go wrong with that. Action Comics, number 407. Oh, my goodness. And again, some reprints in the back, but of course, the main story by Cary Bates and the Swanderson team, Kurt Swan and Murphy Anderson, my favorite Superman art team. And I like the Bates Superman. I mean, I like his Flash and even his Superman. He was a gimmick writer, if you remember Cary Bates. And I mean that in a good way. It was just fun times. And it's nice stuff by him. And then you got you got a Bob Haney Brave and Bold backup with Alex Toth art in there. And another third story with some Swanderson art. And of course, it is a Swanderson cover. And you can't beat the combination of Kurt Swan and Murphy Anderson, the Swanderson team. I love them. So, Adventure Comics 413. John Albano on the writing chores. Art Saf on the art. Yeah. You got me. And I failed to mention it, but that's a Bob Oxner cover. They really probably should have rethought it better with these covers. And that Supergirl outfit for the past couple of issues. Whew, man. See the one up in the up toward the bottom, toward the title up in the left corner. I like that Supergirl costume way better than the one they used on this one. But yeah. Anyway, you got a lot of reprints here again, folks. And again, some reprints of some great stuff. I mean, you have some classic Infantino stuff, some Gardner Fox, Joe Kubert work, some Gray Morrow stuff in there. Yeah, so good stuff. You get a Zatanna story, a Hawkman story, Robot Man story. I think there's an Animal Man story in there, if I remember right. I could be wrong. Could be a different. No, I think it might have been that. Well. Anyway, so yeah, Bob Oxner covers, and again that outfit. Wow, I mean, she had a lot of different. I mean, they kept varying Supergirl's costume back then. Oh, what are you gonna do? Detective Comics number 418. Yeah, again, Denny O'Neil, the great Denny O'Neil, on the writing chores here. Art by Irv Novick and Dick Giordano. I like. I've talked about this before. I like Novick on Batman a little bit. I kind of prefer his Flash as far as my preference for Irv Novick. But his Batman run was okay. Remember, this is a guy that's kind of coming in after Adams, so it's like a quarterback coming in after Udinus or Montana. They're gonna fall in. Yes, young even, but not that good. So. Secondary story, Frank Robbins and Don Heck. Boy, those are names that don't go along together. No offense. Well, I won't go into that. And you have some reprints, a couple of Golden Age reprints in there, but some of it featuring the art of, luminaries like Alex Toth with a Neil Adams cover. And you know what? I just love the Creeper. So that's kind of a cool one. Finally, we have Superboy number 180. Story by Bob Haney. Again, a guy that kind of usually, he kind of stuck around with Brave and the Bold, World's Finest, some other stuff like that. So, and I haven't read this in a long time. I actually have this issue, my Superboy. I have a pretty good collection of Superboy. I don't have them all by any stretch, but I have a decent one, especially these Bronze Age ones. And I, of course, I haven't read this one in forever. But now I feel like going back and reading it because it's Bob Haney, and he is insane. And his stories are absolutely bonkers. So I should probably go back and check that out. Art by Bob Brown, who was a fairly regular on the Superboy title, if I remember correctly, and inks by the great Murphy Anderson. Love that guy. A secondary story by Leo Dorfman. That guy, I thought he mostly did a lot of animation and stuff, but he did write some backups for DC. And of course, there's a Legion reprint in there from Adventure Comics 301. I believe it's the origin of Bouncing Boy, if that does it for you. And I do. I love Bouncing Boy. Written by the great Jerry Siegel, who just would have had a birthday the other day. He would have been 107 years old. So all hail the great Jerry Siegel. And art by John Forte. Cover by the Swanderson team, Kurt Swan, Murphy Anderson. So I love it. And again, that will pretty much wrap it up for this week. As you can see, lots of good stuff. And I will talk a little bit more about some of the other titles on my Clobby'S Quick Bits follow-up video, which will be released the day after this one, which will be Wednesday. Wednesday, this one, Thursday, the Quick Bits. So, anyone who has listened to this video, me meandering about nothing in particular, and any of the other videos, I appreciate you. Just love talking a little bit about comics. And again, these are short videos, so you can't go do a deep dive on the issues or anything. Just a little bit of a giving you a little bit of an idea of what's out there on the racks 50 years ago and how what a wonderful and fun and thriving comic book industry there was back then. And we certainly do appreciate it. And as always, a big shout out to my wonderful clobberers and friends, and also to my wonderful, beautiful friend and first officer, Raquel Briggs, for making this spectacular intro, extro, as we say it. I call it an outro for those who don't know what an extro is. I love you, RM. And have a great day, everyone. And I hope to see you again soon.